Before Petra became a beautiful ruin, it was not a city at all. It was a wound in the desert, a narrow tear carved through sandstone by water and time. The narrow canyon entrance does not feel like a city gate. It feels like the throat of the earth itself, a twisting passage where sunlight falls in fragments. Everyone who walks through this passage is reduced before seeing the city. Merchants, soldiers, pilgrims, thieves, and kings all shrink there. The cliffs ignore titles. Even the wind seems to lower its voice, as if the stone is listening. But in this story, you are not entering Petra as a tourist. You are entering it from the bottom, not as a king, not as a merchant prince, not as a tomb owner. You begin as one of the nameless men hanging above the abyss, carving a palace into a cliff that may kill you before anyone remembers your face. Then, the passage opens, and the treasury appears. Al-Khazneh does not rise from the ground like a normal building. It emerges from the cliff face, as if the mountain has been forced to wear the mask of a palace. From below, it looks royal. But the truth begins above, where tourists rarely look. High on the cliff, there is no royal music, no marble floor, no sacred silence. There is only wind, dust, and a rough rope cutting into the waist. A bronze chisel waits in one hand, while a copper pick hangs from the belt. The sandstone looks soft from far away. Up close, it crumbles, flakes, cracks, and betrays the hand that touches it too hard. The carving begins from the top down. No scaffolding waits beneath the feet, no platform catches a mistake. The entire palace is pulled out of the cliff by men who cannot even see the full design. The hand only knows the next cut, the next edge, the next line of stone that must disappear. Below, the narrow canyon waits like an open mouth. Stone, dust fills the teeth. The rope creaks whenever the body shifts, and every creak carries the same message. One loose fiber, one careless movement, and the worker becomes part of the canyon floor. Then, a scream rips through the air. Above the carved ledge, another rope snaps. A worker falls past the stone face and catches your ankle with both hands. His grip locks. The old rope around your waist suddenly carries two bodies, and the cliff pulls harder than any human prayer. No time for morality, only weight. The rope is failing. His fingers are crushing your ankle. If he lives, you may both die. If he falls, you survive long enough to keep carving the face of a city that will never remember your name. What do? Years later, the cliff is gone, but the body has not forgotten it. The waist still remembers the rope. The palms still remember rough fiber. Survival has changed your work, but it has not softened the lesson. Petra teaches men to climb. The desert teaches them what to leave behind. The chisel has been replaced by a caravan rope. Behind it stretches a line of camels, loaded with perfume oils, spices, dyes, and luxury goods. Rich cities paid fortunes for it. These goods move from the Arabian deserts toward Gaza, Alexandria, and the hungry markets of the Mediterranean world. The journey is not romantic. It is heat, split lips, exhausted animals, and men who stop talking, because words waste moisture. In this world, water is not a comfort. It is a command. A full water bag can raise a man's status faster than bloodline. A hidden cistern can be more powerful than a sword. The Nabataeans understand this better than anyone. They carve channels into stone, trap sudden floods, hide reservoirs underground, and mark secret water points with signs outsiders mistake for scratches or camel tracks. On the 65th day of one brutal journey, another caravan appears near the horizon. Something is wrong with it. The line is broken. The animals move too slowly. The men are walking in the wrong direction, drifting across the sand like people who have already lost the map inside their heads. Their suffering looks almost quiet from a distance. One man kneels near a dry basin and digs with both hands. Their leader lifts an arm, not commanding, but pleading. The wind carries the gesture without carrying his voice. The hidden cistern is close. A carved mark lies on a flat stone less than half a mile away. Turn left at the dark ridge, follow the shallow channel, lift the cover slab, and water will appear below, warm, bitter, but alive. Enough to save them, enough to send them back onto the trade road, enough to make them your rivals again. The younger man from the cliff might have shouted. He might have remembered the hand on his ankle, but that version of you has been worn down by heat, profit, and the clean arithmetic of survival. A dead rival means fewer sellers in the port. Fewer sellers mean higher prices. Higher prices mean more guards, better rooms, stronger alliances, and one more step away from the men who sleep in dust. So silence becomes a decision, not a dramatic one, not a spoken one, just a refusal to turn your head toward the mark in the stone. They are close enough to be saved and far enough to be ignored. Their water is under the ground. Their death is in your profit margin. Do you call out, or do you let the desert finish what business has already begun? Most people remember Petra for its carved facades, but stone was never the real miracle. The true miracle was water. In one of the driest landscapes on Earth, the city learned to catch floods, store rain, and move water through channels cut into living rock. Behind the theatrical cliffs, an invisible machine was working. Dams, cisterns, ceramic pipes, settling tanks, and carved conduits turned scarcity into architecture. Now the body that once hung from a rope walks through shaded courtyards in better cloth. The hands that once split around bronze tools now hold seals, contracts, and cups. Foreign merchants enter through the canyon entrance exhausted and stunned. Then Petra attacks them with abundance. The sound comes first. Water running where water should not exist. A fountain striking stone. A pool reflecting sun. Coolness spreading across a courtyard like an insult to every thirsty mile outside the city. The performance is deliberate. Petra does not merely possess water. Petra displays it. The city makes water speak. We control what keeps you alive. Power changes the shape of desire. At first, shade is enough. Then a private room, then a better house, then a tomb carved into a separate mountain, far from the crowded burial pits where ordinary bodies disappear together. Even death must be upgraded. Even the afterlife must show rank. In Petra, alliances are carved as carefully as stone. Nabataean women can hold property, transmit influence, and anchor powerful families. Marriage is not a love story here. It is infrastructure. A channel through which wealth, land, water, and legitimacy can flow. The strongest family offers a path upward, and the price is not written in public. The climb into the upper families is not sealed with love, it is sealed with water. After the marriage, certain gates open faster, certain records become easier to adjust, and certain poorer families begin waiting longer at the channels. No one says the word theft. Power rarely uses ugly words for itself, but if the council ever looks too closely, the new house, the marriage alliance, and the private tomb could all turn back into dust. At the high place, the city spreads below, like a map of everything you have stolen and survived. The ledgers are not clean. The channels are not innocent. The fountains below still sound like power. But now, they also sound like evidence. Truth is slow, and gravity is immediate. A council inspection is coming. The records are not clean. The lower families are angry, and your new allies expect silence. Do you open the hidden cisterns and lose your climb? Or protect the lie that built your new life? At the peak of power, Petra surrounds you with proof that the climb was real. The house is no longer a shelter but a statement. Beneath the floor, a Roman-style underground heating system quietly pushes warmth through the villa. Wine fills cups that earlier versions of you would not have been allowed to clean. Yet the body refuses to become noble on command. During banquets, the throat still catches on a dryness that no wine can drown. Behind the tongue, the old sand remains. Wealth has changed the furniture, but not the memories stored in muscle. In the city center, Qasar al-Bint rises as one of Petra's freestanding monuments. It must stand on its own, heavy and stubborn under the desert light. Inside its stone walls, juniper beams are placed as hidden ribs, a defense against the shaking of the earth. Even power knows that the ground cannot be trusted. The Treasury's famous exterior promises kings, secrets, and impossible wealth. But inside, the chamber is almost plain. Smooth walls, empty space. Outside, ambition performs for the world. Inside, the rock offers almost nothing back. That emptiness should feel like a warning. Instead, it feels familiar. The end does not arrive with fight. No Roman legion storms the narrow canyon entrance. No siege tower crawls toward the cliffs. No heroic defense gives Petra the dignity of a final battle. Rome is too large to be dramatic, when efficiency will do. Emperor Trajan does not need to destroy Petra by force. He only needs to make it less necessary. A decree, a road, a wider Red Sea route, and the logic of trade begins to shift. Goods that once moved through thirst can move by ship. Caravans that once depended on Petra's water can choose safer paths. The city that turned scarcity into power suddenly faces a world where scarcity has been bypassed. This is the cleanest kind of strangling. Storage rooms empty slowly. Contracts become thinner. Hoofbeats inside the canyon grow less frequent. Fountains are lowered so visitors will not notice too soon. Rome places an invisible noose around Petra's throat and tightens it without shouting. By the time the city understands what is happening, its voice has already changed. Centuries pass, and Petra does not collapse all at once. Great cities rarely die in a single moment. First, the trade weakens. Then the markets thin. Then the names lose weight. Houses remain standing after the lives inside them have shrunk. Tombs keep their facades long after the families who paid for them have become dust. The water system, once Petra's greatest intelligence, becomes its greatest vulnerability. Too many channels must stay clear. Too many cisterns must remain sealed. Too many stone cuts must continue guiding water through a city that no longer commands the movement of wealth. A machine built to master scarcity still depends on maintenance, memory, and order. Then, in 363 AD, the earth moves. The same earth that split open this canyon now shakes the city inside its wound. Walls crack, columns fall, channels rupture underground. Cisterns lose their secrecy. The hidden logic that turned desert into empire collapses into mud, broken stone, and silence. A city can survive pride, poverty, even being forgotten for a time. But Petra cannot survive the death of the system that tells water where to go. Once that breaks, the desert does not need to attack. It only needs to return. The warm floors go cold. The pools dry. The courtyards fill with wind. 1,000 years later, Petra is no longer a living city. It is a silence with doors. A canyon full of facades that outlive the voices behind them. The markets are gone. The water songs are gone. The men who measured every drop, priced every caravan, and carved their ambition into the cliffs have become dust beneath the same stone they tried to command. What remains is not glory, but misunderstanding. People look at the treasury and imagine treasure. They see a carved urn high above the facade and invent gold inside it. Pharaoh's gold, hidden gold, phantom gold. The city that once turned water into power is reduced to a rumor about something shiny trapped in stone. For generations, local Bedouin legends whispered that Pharaoh's gold was hidden inside. Drawn by the myth, later tribes fired bullets at the urn you once helped carve from the cliff. The marks remain there today, small dark wounds made not by war, but by historical misunderstanding and desire. The shape of the story becomes cruel. The cliff nearly killed the worker. The desert nearly emptied the body. Water turned survival into power. Power turned the heart into stone. Rome made the city unnecessary. The earthquake broke the machine. Then strangers came, driven by folklore. Not to understand the climb, but to shoot at a myth. This is your final choice. The rope, the chisel, the hidden cistern, the rival caravan, the water records, the warm Roman floor, the empty treasury, the silent trade route, the broken channels, the bullets in the stone urn. Everything returns at once. The ascent began in dust and ended in dust, not because ambition failed to climb high enough, but because height was never permanence. You traded mercy for survival, survival for water, water for power, and power for stone. But the stone did not protect the name behind it. The empire moved around you. The earth moved beneath you. Time moved through you. In the end, the cliffs remained, but the life carved into them became a question. Was the ascent worth the dust? What do you do